Hello, students! Today, we're going to do a complete revision of the chapter Electoral Politics. I know it's a big chapter with many important ideas, so in this session, we will break down all the key concepts you need to know for your exams. So, let's get started.
So, what are we going to cover today? Let's have a quick look. We'll start with the very basics, why we need elections in the first place. Then, we'll understand what makes an election truly democratic. After that, we'll zoom into our own country system and the entire election process. Finally, we'll tackle that really important question, are Indian elections fair? And we'll end with some key points to help you with your revision.
All right, let's begin with our first section. We're going to start with the most fundamental question of all. In a democracy, why are elections so important? Why do we even need them?
Just think about it for a moment. In a huge country like India, with more than 100 crore people, is it even possible for everyone to sit together every single day to make laws and decisions? Of course not. It's just not practical. And that is exactly why we need a system to choose representatives, people who can govern on our behalf.
And this is where elections come in. You see, an election is that special mechanism, that process, which allows us, the people, to do two very important things. First, to choose who will represent us. And second, to change them if we are not happy with their work. This power to choose and to change is the very heart of a representative democracy.
But is it enough to just hold a vote? Not really, right? Even countries that are not democratic sometimes hold elections. So what makes an election genuinely democratic? There are 5 minimum conditions, and you must remember all of them. Let's go through them quickly.
The first and most important condition is based on the idea of equality. We call it universal adult franchise. It's a very simple but powerful principle. Every single adult citizen, that means anyone 18 years and above, gets one vote, and every vote has exactly the same value. It doesn't matter if you are rich or poor, man or woman, your vote has the same power.
Second, for an election to be democratic, there must be a real choice. What's the point of voting if there's only one party to choose from? That's not a choice at all. So there must be different political parties and candidates who are free to compete with each other. This competition gives voters a real choice and also makes parties work harder for the people.
The third condition is that elections must happen regularly. They can't just happen whenever the government feels like it. They have to be held at fixed, regular intervals. For example, in India, the Lok Sabha elections happen every 5 years. This regular schedule makes sure that the government knows it will have to face the people again very soon.
Our fourth condition is very straightforward. The winner should be the person the people actually chose. This means the candidate who receives the most votes, the one who is genuinely preferred by the voters in that area, must be declared the winner. The people's decision has to be the final one.
And the fifth and final condition, well, it ties everything together. The entire election process must be conducted in a free and fair manner. This means that every person should be able to vote for whoever they truly want, without any fear, pressure, or temptation of money. The whole system has to be neutral and impartial.
Okay, so those are the 5 big ideas behind any democratic election. Now, let's shift our focus and see how these ideas are actually put into practice in our country, in the massive election system of India. Now, to understand our system, there are 3 key terms that you absolutely must know. They are the building blocks of our elections. These are electoral constituencies, reserved constituencies, and the voters list. Let's look at each one by one.
So, first things first. How do we even manage voting in such a large country? Well, we do it by dividing the entire country into smaller geographical areas, just for the purpose of elections. Each of these areas is called an electoral constituency. And from each constituency, the voters elect one representative.
Now, the makers of our constitution wanted to make sure our democracy was inclusive and that everyone had a fair chance. So to give a voice to weaker sections of society, they created something called reserved constituencies. In these particular constituencies, only candidates belonging to the scheduled castes or scheduled tribes can contest the election. This ensures their representation in our parliament and state assemblies.
And finally, of course, you can't have an election if you don't know who is allowed to vote, right? So, before every election, an official list is prepared. This list has the names of all the people who are eligible to vote. Its official name is the electoral roll, but we all commonly know it as the voters list.
Great. So now we know the basic structure. Let's move on and look at the actual journey of an election. What are the different stages that take place, from the day an election is announced all the way to when the results come out?
You can think about the whole election process in 4 very simple steps. First comes the nomination, where candidates officially enter the race. This is followed by the noisy and exciting election campaign. After that comes the most important day, the polling day, when we all go out to vote. And finally, the last step is the counting of votes, which tells us who has won.
Now, during the campaign period, a very important set of rules kicks in. It's called the Model Code of Conduct. You can think of it as a rulebook that all parties and candidates must follow. It's there to make sure nobody uses unfair methods to win, and it helps keep the campaign period fair for everyone.
So, we have all these systems, rules, and procedures in place. But that brings us to a really big and important question. In a country as large and complex as India, are our elections actually free and fair when we look at them in practice? Let's examine some of the evidence.
How can we judge this? Well, we can look at 3 key things to check the health of our elections. First, we look at our election commission. Is it truly independent? Second, we look at popular participation. Are people actually interested in voting? And third, we look at what happens after the results. Do the losing parties accept the outcome peacefully?
Now, this is a very interesting point to consider. In many established democracies, like the UK, the number of people who come out to vote has been going down. But in India, the voter turnout has either been stable or has actually gone up. This is a very positive sign. It shows that ordinary Indian citizens have faith in the election process and believe that their vote matters.
So, what is the final verdict? The main takeaway is this. India's election system has some amazing strengths. We have a very powerful and independent election commission, we have high voter participation, and there is always a peaceful transfer of power after elections. But at the same time, we must also see the serious challenges we face, like the misuse of money and the problem of candidates with criminal backgrounds being allowed to contest. All right, we are almost at the end. To finish, let's quickly go through some key revision points. These will help you structure your answers better and score well in your exams.
When you are preparing your answers, make sure you focus on these areas. Have a clear definition of election. You should be able to list and explain all 5 conditions for a democratic election. And you must know the key terms like constituency, reservation, and voters list very well. A very good tip is to make your own flowcharts to remember the election process. It really helps. I wish you all the very best for your exams.